Hi, Darren Hall here from Bet72.com. Just making a series of videos regarding some software which I'm sure you've seen me or heard me talk about before, and that is the InPlay trading site, and particularly the InPlay trading scanner. Certainly visitors to our social media sites will have been blinded by a number of winning screenshots already this season. We're only a week into the new competitive season, and already we've been pulling up profits from all over Europe, and obviously domestic football as well, and it's all really down to one piece of software, which is what we use for our in-play trading. The software has just been updated with a number of new features, and also is currently on a trial basis for £3 for 14 days unlimited access. So everything you see we demonstrate and talk about today is actually available for just £3 for a 2-week trial, just so you can get in, take a look at it all, and hopefully make some of the profits that we're making, and then look to carry on your profit making throughout the rest of the season. So the software itself, just very brief overview. There's lots of other demonstrations than that on our media site, greenuptv.com. Go over there and show some of the videos, or I'll put a link under this one where you can actually see them as well. But basically the software is showing matches which are in play on Betfair, and these matches will be divided up effectively into sort of 3 areas of the screen. We've got the match details, the current score, and obviously the teams. The middle portion of the screen are the odds, so we've got the match odds, the under 2 and over 2.5 goal market, and the correct scores, which are in a grid when you just hover over them here. So these are all on a live feed from Betfair. We can see whether the prices are going up and down, and if we hover over the prices we can see the current graphs and the price movements as the matches have been in play. We're recording this on Friday the 14th of August. It's around about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we've got a very limited card, but we're not actually doing any trading here. It's just purely to show you some of the ways that we've actually picked up some of the profits already. So there will be some more trading videos coming along with live games, but this is just a recap of what we've done during the week. And then on the right hand side of the screen we've got our stats, which are vitally important to us because that shows us all the information live about what's going on in the game. So we've got a whole variety of stats here. We've got shots on target, we've got shots off target, we've got corners, penalties, free kicks, red and yellow cards, possession, and also this pressure index, which is a unique stat which the software calculates based on possession and shots on target over the last 10 minutes. Generally would give us an indication if one side is particularly on top, depending when we reach a certain percentage, which again is described within the software itself, how you would actually see and when to actually use those stats. And one of the new features which has been added is this alert mechanism now, so that you can actually get audio alerts, so you can be doing other things in the background necessarily, or you could be on another page and you will actually get an alert to tell you when that particular trigger has actually kicked in. And you can see up here we can also filter out the card. I mean, it's not really an issue here because we've got so few games going on, but I mean, if we just take away the shots on target, we'll get an idea of what's in play at the moment. So you're very limited, but you could imagine this on a full-blown Saturday or Sunday afternoon, or a full-blown card in one of the cup competitions. Then we're going to have, you know, untold number of games there. Now to try and keep track of those is going to be impossible. Certainly haven't got a chance within the regular Betfair sites or whatever, but here we can actually set up some filters based on what we actually want to look for. We can add some additional filters here based on odds. We can also look for minimum time frames within games. So we could look for games that are 0-0 at half time as an example, or perhaps games where the correct score the match odds, like the draw, become odds on after a certain amount of time. We might want to use that for one of our strategies. Basically any combination you think of is possible here within these frames, because you just set up multiple filters as you want. You can save them so you don't have to go back and recreate them each time. So Lots of options there. One of the important ones that we use is really on the right hand side here, which is based around the shots on target and the current number of goals within the actual match. Because what we'll do is, let me just pull up some screens here over the last sort of week, and I'm not going to go into every single one in detail, but you'll see a recurring sort of theme here as we go through some of the actual screens. So this was sort of the first match last Saturday, Leeds against Burnley. You can see here that we got involved with the match odds. This is a screenshot from Geeks Toy, which is the API trading software, and we use various different software. We've got Geeks Toy, we used to use BetAngel Pro as well, and some of the screenshots you'll see are just purely from the Betfair screen itself, because it is it's not necessarily desirable, but it is possible to use those in order to trade. But in order to just get some consistent screenshots, we've taken the final screenshots from the Betfair site itself rather than within the software. But that's sort of by the by. You can see here that we've been involved with a match odds market, under 1.5 goals and under and over 2.5 goals. You can see here the match actually finished 1-1, so our profits were based on the draw market there, £3.49. Over 1.5 goals, this was £20, and obviously it was under 2.5 goals, so that was a scratch there. So we're looking at £23.49 profit there, but that was sort of on liabilities of no more than £15 on that particular bet. So we more than doubled the return on investment there in terms of profit. We actually came up with a £23 profit from putting just £15 down on the table. So again, you can see there that, and the reason why I just highlight the sort of figures is going to be totally scalable. I mean, you look at the size of the markets in terms of the amount of money that's actually involved there. But obviously, we're right at the start of the season here, so in some ways we've got a limited amount of statistical information to go on. We've obviously got previous seasons, but again, a lot of teams, every team has changed in terms of personnel. A lot of teams have changed in terms of manager, formation, even things down to fitness levels, injuries, whatever. It's going to take a few weeks before everyone's sort of fully up to speed. So at the moment, we've cut our trading right back in terms of the bank size that we're using, just purely because we want the season to settle down. People make very, very ridiculous predictions at this time of the season and get carried away looking at things like the league table after the first game and all nonsense like that. It doesn't mean a thing. At the moment, we're just purely wanting to base our the calls that we make on what's going on in front of our eyes in terms of the live statistics, which we actually get fed back into here from the software, which will then show us what's actually going on there. Okay, sure, if we've got a particularly strong team playing against a particularly weak team, and that might form some of our judgment as to what's going on. But certainly at the moment, where some of the teams haven't even got all their players back because they've been playing during the summer in things like the Copa America tournament, so they're not even necessarily putting out their best sides at the moment. And certainly a lot of teams are not up to speed in terms of full match practice because of pre-season, and again, fitness levels. All the coaches and managers will say it's going to take 5 or 6 games before everyone really gets into their stride. So at the moment, it's a long old season, and it's in fact a longer season because we've got European Championships coming at the end, so there's no point just rushing headlong into these things. We can take it slow, start to build our bank, and then but you'll see here, using minimal stakes, we're soon starting to add up some very significant profits, even just over the first few matches of the season. So that was the first game there. We then had some games on Monday, which was in the early round of the Italian Cup. Again, you can see here we got involved with a 2.5 goal market. Very nice, 21-25 profit there when the score went to 2-1. This was a laver draw. and not lay the draw in a traditional sense of just blindly laying the draw, but this again was based on statistical information coming from the software, finding an entry point and getting on and laying the draw when the conditions were right. Small one, obviously just £10 to get involved, but you know, again, we've doubled our money there in terms of we've made £10 profit on the home side there. There's another lever draw there, you can see very late goal there, but again, beauty of using sort of small liabilities, because all the time we're basically going against what the markets say, but we're going with what the statistics say. So because we are laying at very low prices, we've got very low liabilities, that will enable us to be able to stay in games and stay in trades virtually right to the death. And certainly when we add in some insurance as well, then we can actually stay in those games literally right to the very end of the game. So if we do get a goal, you know, coming in 90th minute or even in injury time, we're still going to make a profit on that, because we've controlled our entry points and also we've controlled our liabilities. You know, if we were into this game very sort of heavy from the start, then we are going to have some sort of exit point, you know, whenever. I mean, it always used to be with lever draw, people who did it before the game or at the start of the game would be getting out around about 65-70 minutes if the game was still 0-0. We're the reverse of that. We're basically saying, well, we're not going to get involved with those games until the statistics hit based on the strategies that we've set up, and also because of that we can then stay in the game virtually till the end, or to the end, because we've got such low liabilities, and that twists the whole lever draw strategy on its head, but it also twists the profits right on their head as well, and that's really, lever draw is working very well for us at the moment. And did indeed last season, so this is really just following on from that. Then we were into the Capital One Cup midweek. We had games on Tuesday and Wednesday that we got involved with. Tuesday was a fantastic night. Again, you would have seen some of that mentioned on the Facebook page and the Twitter page as well. But I'll just run through these quickly. Again, you can see we've got a theme recurring here, 2.5 goal market, £50. Again, the game, what we were looking at here was just to add a little bit more to the strategy, was games that were 0-0 at half time. I mean, you can see here, first goal didn't come till sort of around about 55 minutes, I think it was, around about that sort of time. It was 0-0 at half time. Yeah, there were sufficient shots on target and attacking possessional sort of play. Both teams looked interested and up for the game, that it was an opportunity to get on based on under 2.5 goals, which was hovering around about, I think, the 1.22 mark. So we could lay that. We could give ourselves a little bit of insurance based on the 0-0 score, so if it did remain 0-0, then we had some cover there. And the idea was, as long as we get a couple of goals in before the 80th minute, then pretty much we're going to make a profit. I mean, the fact that the liabilities again were so low based on 1.22, so we got involved with that. This was probably an £80 lay at 1.22, so we were only looking at sort of £16-17 liability. So what we did after the first goal, we could reduce that down. Second goal, we could reduce that down a little bit further, and in fact the third goal came fairly quickly, so we didn't even have to green it off, which we may well have done had it gone on much beyond sort of 70 minutes, but you can see here 67 minutes the job was done. This one again, slightly fortunate, but again, people say, well, that's just lucky, but you've got to be in it to win it, sort of thing. Again, this was a situation which was, we got involved for again at the £80. It was around about, I think it's 1.22 again, and we were looking at a 17.60 liability. The first goal went in. Yeah, the stats were again suggesting there was a lot of attacking play going on, and what actually transpired was that we couldn't actually get we were looking for a price just to reduce some of our liabilities. We couldn't actually get matched We had some money queued up, and the second goal went in, so the match went suspended. It came back, but then the third goal went in so quick before the market had ever really properly reformed again. So we actually found our lay went right the way through, and we hit £80. Okay, a stroke of luck, but we would have still made a profit, because typically after the first goal we would have reduced some of our liabilities, and then the second and third goal we would have greened off a little bit further. But you can see, even overall, hands off trading, we're still only looking at a £17 liability anyway in that market. And again, this was all down to the stats. 0-0 at half time, got involved at half time. It was very low odds on the under 2.5 goal market. Yeah, obviously the stats on our side were suggesting that there were going to be goals. There was a number of shots on target by both sides, actually. Some of the other possessional stats and the free kicks and corners suggested that there were going to be goals coming. So it really was a no-brainer. Back to the later draw now. This was Bolton against Burton. Again, £15 profit there on Burton, and it showed probably the opposite to what we thought. Actually, we were looking at Bolton in terms of the sort of shots that they were having, but sometimes you can even call it wrong and still make a profit. This later draw, we basically waited for the draw to get odds on, and we got involved round about the sort of 65-70 minute mark again, and the goal went in within round about, I think it was 83-84 minutes, that sort of time. So we had a £20 lay in there, and we took some off to obviously reduce our red, or take the red out of the actual draw. That gave us more profit on Bolton if they got, say, something back fairly sort of quickly. But again, it was very straightforward lay, and back it back. Classic one again, Sheffield United playing at Morecambe. Same thing, we just got involved with the draw when it went odds on. Very small liabilities again, which allowed us to stay into the trade. But again, we were only getting involved. We weren't just blindly going into games because the draw was going odds on. We were actually using the stats which the software was providing to actually say, yeah, it looks likely that there's going to be a goal here. So again, we can get involved with those games because the run of play seems to again be suggesting that the goals are on our side. And you can see here there really is a theme developing, and it's not just in the cup competitions, in the league as well. So many late goals in games. So you've got to think of the sort of depth, or when you get down to the natural decay of football odds are going to happen. So the market is always going to be pushing the prices down as the time progresses, because by the end of the game it's got to reach 1.01. But you can see here just so many opportunities really just to jump on at prices which are low, and then in order to take a very profitable position from what's a very small outlay. So we've got again another last minute goal there. Same thing as well with Brighton at Southend. You can see that all these scores are happening right at the end of the game, but again it just gives us an opportunity to get involved at a very cheap price. This was a good one as well, the Dundee derby. Again, derbies, feisty affairs, obviously, usually close. A lot of the form goes out the window. Not that we've got a lot of form to go on because it's the start of the season, but certainly close, frantic, frenetic. At the first half, nothing in it. We can get involved at half time, and then two goals come very quickly, which again is very good for us. That gives us our position there, so that we can, and at this point, because the second goal, two goals had come so quickly, there was still about a third of the game to go, so we made sure we took some profit from the game, but we could obviously hedge it or weight it so that we had still a large proportion of the game left, and there was still £24.50 available for us to make if another goal went in. If it didn't, then we were making £15 anyway. So, and duly we got the third goal come in there, so we didn't actually have to do anything else with the trade. So there we're back to the first game on the actual screen, but you'll see here, and it's something we're obviously going to follow up. All of those strategies, or I mean that's just literally 2 strategies, and the way that we're setting this up basically is we're looking for a minimum of 6 shots on target, and we're looking for no goals in the game. Now as soon as I do that, obviously these are all going to disappear because we've not got that any games there, and this will give us 2 opportunities for entry. One may well be at the first half, in which case if we get to half time, we've got games matching that criteria, then we will get involved with the under 2.5 goal market by laying that, and we will back 0-0 to give ourselves a little bit of insurance. And again, the staking is very much down to you, how you sort of perceive it, but generally we look to sort of cover 75% of our liability on the correct score market with the bet there, and then if there wasn't a goal, whence the draw becomes odds on, which is typically back to our favourite 65-minute sort of mark, then we would lay the draw again to cover the liability on the under 2.5 goal market, such that if we got a goal later in the game, we would then become sort of virtually scratch, or that would cover this market. We would then just be losing our correct score stake, which we've actually made. But again, if we get a couple of quick goals, then that can bring this market back into play fairly quickly. You've got to think you've got a lot of time to play with. Even at 65 minutes, we've still got 25 minutes of normal time plus whatever injury time is actually added on as well. So potentially you could well have a sort of 30 minutes play, which is a third of the game still available to you at the time when you're getting involved with a draw, which has then gone odds on. So there's lots of scope there, certainly. And so that would be at the half time. The other one would just be the traditional lay the draw type scenario. So again, if we let's just take this off, just so we've got something on the, let's just take both of these off, so we've got some games on the list. But again, what we would be looking for there, and it's not a problem here because we can monitor these on the screen. We can actually sort the columns there, so we get the games with the most shots coming to the top. We can highlight particular games that we want to see as well, so that it will only give alerts on those, or they actually stand out from the actual card itself. But what we're looking at here is, again, lay the draw, then typically round about 65 minutes when the draw goes on. So we can do a couple of things. We can just go straight in and lay the draw, and that's it, done. Or again, if it looks like there's going to be a lot of pressure, a lot of action still going on, we may well lay the draw. We may well lay the under 1.5 goal market, and if we really want to, 2.5 goal market as well, because by that time that market, if it's still 0-0, is going to be around about 1.04, 1.05, so very small liabilities. Again, we get a goal, we can then green off the the match odds market. We can then take our liabilities out of the other two markets and just let those two run. If we get a second goal, bonus, that brings a 1.5 goal into play. If we get another goal, then 2.5, and we've always got a jackpot. And we have had those, certainly, and they happen. Again, you can see there. Just take the Dundee United game, for example. It's a classic scenario there, where 3 goals hit after the second half is well underway. So there's a lot of scope for that, and as I say, we're only going on small stakes at the moment, so all of those profits you've seen there have all been achieved with liabilities of sort of certainly under £20 anyway. And as the season goes on, we're going to be increasing those, but it certainly gives us a lot of scope. And all of these strategies, those 2 strategies plus others, are, I won't show them on here, but they're included within the help screen here within the software itself. And there's other strategies which are available within there. There's other things that we're adding to as well. So again, it really puts us in a fantastically strong position. We've got some additional ideas for utilising, particularly one of the areas that I'm involved in, which is the free bets as well, is utilising the free bets around the trading as well. So there's a whole scope of things that we can do here, but the main thing is the fact that, and particularly this, well, it's relevant at any time of the season really, because you want to be trading what's going on in front of your eyes, you know, just because of there's certain historical information there and pre-match stats. It's no substitute for what's physically going on in front of your eyes on the pitch itself, and this is really where the real-time data comes into play, because you know we can see there straight away. I mean, also, I mean, another thing which would be a classic would be the red cards. As soon as we pretty much get a red card, or we see a red card in the game, to me that's pretty much a no-no not to get involved with trading, because teams will have to change because of the red card. If the red card is against them, then they're going to have to sacrifice another player, they're going to have to change their formation, they might have been going for a win and now they're happy to hang on for a draw because they've got a player less. Other side may then be able to set up slightly differently. It just distorts a lot of what's actually going on itself. I mean, classic was obviously the Chelsea-Swansea game last week. Typically we would have sort of followed that through, and the stats would have suggested that we would have been trading certainly a Chelsea win up until the sending off actually happened, although Swansea were playing quite well, but obviously once that got distorted again by the sending off, then it's sort of a game sort of flipped on its head really, and it was probably more likely that Swansea were going to take the 3 points really from the game, and the game sort of plan and the setup obviously changed. So again, we wouldn't really want to be too involved with that unless the stats are really leaning in our favour. So red cards, but again, you've got to think, we could have upwards of, you know, we could have 50 games on this list, and to try and keep track of who's, you know, where there are red cards or you know, what's actually going on in any of the particular games is would be nigh on impossible. Well, would be impossible with using just standard screens and standard websites, whereas here we've got absolutely everything on the page itself. You know, we can go to that sort of level and sort like that. You know, here's a classic example where we could go in and just sort on, say, the corners there. So we've got all the corners. Again, there's ways of trading corners in particular games. Usually we only use the actual shots itself. Also, the liquidity is quite important as well, because even though we could have an attractive game down here, we might think, oh, this is quite a good one to trade, but if we actually look at the sort of volumes involved, so if we're taking this game at the bottom here, we've currently got £17 matched in the match odds market and 92 in the under 2.5 goal market. So even if we call it right based on the stats, chances are we're not going to be able to get traded out anyway, and then as fast as we're waiting in order to be able to trade out, that trade could go against us and we could turn a winning trade into a losing trade purely because there's no liquidity in here. So again, we've got guidelines on what sort of liquidity and volumes to actually look for, but again, we can sort those games. I mean, these are tiny amounts really when you sort of compare them to when we get into the main domestic leagues and obviously the major European leagues. Then, you know, we're going to be game tonight, Villa against Man United. That's going to be you know, a 7-figure game in terms of what's traded anyway, whereas here we're sort of down to under £15,000. So it's a different league literally in terms of what's going on there. So that's important to realise as well. We can't just blindly go in and trade things where perhaps there's no opportunity to actually trade them because there's no money in the market. But anyway, that's really a discussion for another day. It was just more to say that we're up and running for the season. Software's available now, just £3 for 14 days. Even if you just use it to go in and just monitor some of the games that are going on, get a feel for it. You don't even necessarily have to put any money down on the table. You can just be looking at the particular games. Come and have a look, take a look at some of the strategies that are in there. We've got some other training videos on there as well. And then what we're going to do is sort of boost this up further, because we're then going to do some live trading sessions as well. We've got some webinars lined up as well, which will be coming online very soon. And really, just to say, you know, anything you want, it's info@bet72.com. Got any questions about the software whatsoever? The idea is we're going to use this really as our flagship football trading product throughout the whole season, because really you can see there already the potential of the software. And this is not just something which has been dreamt up over the someone's trying to time me out there, I think. This has not been something which has been dreamt up over the course of the summer. This is proven strategies and proven software which has been running for a number of years now. So really we're just building on profits year after year. But you can see really particularly with this phenomenon of later goals in games, it's really a fantastic opportunity for people to get involved with trading and to actually make some profits, because the signals are there. We get the signals here. It tells us when games are looking like goals are coming, and if it looks like goals are coming and the liabilities are low enough, we can get involved with these markets and we can certainly make profits. So anyway, that was a little bit longer video than perhaps I was going to make, but it's all good stuff, and I hope you found it useful, and look out for the next video coming up very shortly. Okay, I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers, bye bye.